There will be more difficult decisions ahead.
Tories. I just associate them with more negative things.
Keir Starmer said that just a few weeks ago.
Really?
Margaret Thatcher sought to drag Britain out of its stupor by setting loose our natural entrepreneurialism.
Is it Keir Starmer? Yeah, it's Keir Starmer, yeah. I think it's interesting that Labour's trying to push the more right-wing policies. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that Keir Starmer said that.
When you looked at the manifestos, it was just like a list of problems. Optimism is needed.
Who do you think said, "We're all in this together"?
Surely Labour. Is it?
Actually, both of them said the exact same
really?
thing. Do you think that we are all in this together?
No, I do feel like it's pretty split between like those in power and those who are not. It does benefit the like minority who are the top at the end of the day, and I think even when looking at like things like COVID, we weren't in this all together. Clearly, like they were doing their own like secret parties. They didn't take it seriously.
Would you trust Labour to be more in this together than the Tories?
More than the Tories. Not necessarily we are in this together, but probably more so because they do take more of a a liberal stance. They are more appear to be more in it for the people and helping the minorities, but not necessarily to the extreme.
I think the government alienates a lot of people. Political apathy is really high in the UK. People don't care. Some people are too privileged to care. Some people are in too unfortunate of positions to care. So it's hard to be focusing on a collective goal when you have people with such different interests.
The role of government is to be a partner to private enterprise, not stifle it.
Right?
See, I want to say right, but I feel like Starmer could say something like that as well.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know, from the quotes that I've seen of Starmer, he doesn't strike me as left-wing as perhaps, the old Labour used to be, but I'm not sure. What's the answer?
Yeah, it was Starmer. The recovery will be long and harder than we hoped.
I mean, that's Rachel Reeves, right? Is that Rachel Reeves or is it not Rachel Reeves?
Why do you think Rachel Reeves said that?
Or the whole, on the news, they've always been talking about how it's going to be a long process, a hard process. And at the Labour Party conference, they were talking about how it's going to get worse before it gets better, I think. So, I mean, it sounds like it could be Rachel Reeves, but is it not Rachel Reeves?
It was actually George Osborne on the Andrew Marr show in 2011.
Right, so that's before they started austerity. So it's... I think they pledged to not do austerity this time, but that's interesting.
I mean, George Osborne is said to be the constructor of austerity and to be matching with Rachel Reeves. How do you think that looks for the Labour Party?
I get why it could seem weird, but I think personally to me, I think it's just a common response to the situation. Yeah, the situation's bad, and we're going to have to make some difficult decisions. I think that hopefully the decisions the Labour Party will make will be different, but I can understand why it's a bit of a scary parallel.
Things will get worse before they get better.
I think it is Rishi Sunak. So it can be, it's the right.
Actually, Keir Starmer said that only a few weeks ago, addressing the nation. What does that make you feel about maybe a more leftist leader saying something that may be perceived right-wing?
I think that he said that if he said this, then, he's kind of given the slogan, fixing the foundations. And I believe that if he's saying this, there's certainly something that's maybe wrong with the British economy and, with the British governance structure. And maybe just Keir Starmer maybe thinks that it is something that has to be worked out. Because I'm coming from India, I felt one thing for sure, that the UK has a lot of inflation, and it impacts a lot of the lives of international students, particularly when it comes to accommodation and a lot of tuition fees. So if he has said this, the only thing I can hope for is that things will get better soon enough, everything will improve, and education institutions will have better lives for students. Yeah.
There will be more difficult decisions ahead. Who do you think said it?
Tories.
Why do you think that?
I don't know, I just associate them with more negative things.
That's really interesting because actually Keir Starmer said that just a few weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting.
How does that make you feel about his type of politics?
Pretty pessimistic, but I mean, like, probably more realist. Like, obviously there will be difficult decisions to do with like most of their like policies. I think it's good to be like more of a realist than an idealist. I think, yeah, to acknowledge the problems and to try like to pursue them head on is a good idea. But also I don't think there is any positive aspect of government at the moment. Like there's nothing that anyone is like, I'm so glad about this. But ultimately, I don't think you're ever gonna like make everyone happy. But I don't think that ever made anyone happy. So probably a bit more optimism is needed. It doesn't feel like there is much hope. It would be great if they did like focus on the positive things and they were like, this is what we're willing to change and this is what we're pursuing, rather than like, here's loads of problems that we're going to try, like that, like you're not giving any solutions. And I think also when you looked at the manifestos, it was just like a list of problems. And I think like looking at Labour's and Tories as well, it was just like, here's all the problems, like, and we'll do something, but it wasn't really saying what as well. So yeah, probably, yeah, again, optimism is needed.
Margaret Thatcher sought to drag Britain out of its stupor by setting loose our natural entrepreneurialism.
I say Keir Starmer, but is it Keir Starmer? Yeah, it's Keir Starmer, yeah. It just reminds me of, I can't remember where it was, but at some point he said, I don't care if you think I'm a conservative. And I can't remember exactly what policy he was proposing, but I think it was about stopping the boats or something like that. He said, I don't care if you think I'm a conservative. I think that it's a way to appeal to lots of people who maybe have nostalgia for that era. But I think it's interesting that Labour's trying to push the more right-wing policies. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that Keir Starmer said that.
Do you think it's useful for him to going to a more right-wing line?
I think it's useful for him because if you look at the rise of like Reform, or even in 2019 when there was a Conservative landslide in the Labour heartlands in the north, clearly there's a right-wing push there, and if you want to meet the voters, then you need to do that. I don't think it's right to abandon your morals, but I think it's useful politically.
I would like to see more people working in offices more of the time.
That's Tory.
That sounds Tory. That sounds very Tory.
That's got. It could be either though, but I think it's Tory.
That sounds Tory. It sounds like Wall Street right there.
Yeah, in fact, that was Rachel Reeves in an interview with ITV. What do you think, how does that make you feel?
I mean, if anything, slightly positive that the lines are becoming more blurry and less distinct. I think it's good to have political discourse that both sides are engaged in, both sides can agree on certain things. So the fact that maybe we're assuming certain Labour things are Tories, potentially a good thing, means that the party line is getting slightly, less strong.
Yeah, well, I don't know if consensus is always a good thing, but yeah, it definitely shows that like the Overton window is pretty small, and the parties, they're just the same people in different colour ties really at the end of the day.
I would say less polarization is good. So more discourse, more people that can talk to each other instead of just bickering and just not even being able to be friends with someone who has different opinions than you.
I would like to see more people in the office more of the time. Who said it, a Tory or Labour?
I'm going to say Labour, maybe. Yeah.
Why would you say that?
I think that the current Labour government pushed quite conservative, and I think that the whole thing post-COVID, people saying, we need to come back into work, and this whole work-at-home thing's not working, and productivity or whatever. So I think it's probably Labour, just because they're in government, it's probably the type of thing they want to push up productivity, maybe.
Yeah, that was Rachel Reeves in an ITV interview. The deficit we inherited means an unavoidable, a challenging settlement.
I think that was Starmer, right?
Left? I don't know. Is that left?
I'm pretty sure that was
Yeah.
Starmer.
That was actually George Osborne in 2010 for his Chancellor's speech, his first budget.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. I just heard like Starmer saying very similar things recently. The way that they're talking is like the world's ending, so I think they need to be really careful about like to what extent they're cutting. Like for example, like these pension fuel costs. Like I know that my grandparents, they don't earn that much money. It's going to be cutting and hurting a lot of the people, and I personally feel like they can do these cuts because they know that that's not the voter base which they're targeting. So I think I don't know, it's a very tough situation. I think the whole country's in a really tough situation, and I just think people have to be careful.